Hello, this is a new channel, and in this channel I'll be talking about the differences between the Roman Catholics and the Eastern Orthodox Church. And I'll be focused on specifically historical differences, such as changes to the sacraments, forgeries used by the Roman Catholics, and the question of the papal supremacy. So I'll start off with the sacraments, and we'll begin with baptism. The main difference between the Roman Catholics and the Orthodox Church on baptism is that the Orthodox Church baptizes with triple immersion in baptism, whereas the Roman Catholics only pour or sprinkle in general. However, this is a very serious error for the Roman Catholics because the early church baptized by triple immersion, and the only exceptions to immersion were extraordinary circumstances such as the weakness or sickness of the candidate, scarcity of water, or if someone's in prison, or other such urgent causes. Perhaps if it's extremely cold and there's not sufficient liquid water. This is mentioned by the Patriarch Anthemos VII of Constantinople in his encyclical of 1895, where he says, "The Holy Catholic Church baptizes by triple immersion, 3 immersions in the water, and Pope Pelagius, who we will quote later, speaks of the triple immersion as the command of the Lord." It was also mentioned in the Russian Catechism of St. Philaret of Moscow. So we'll be going over some of the abundant testimony that the early church baptized with triple immersion, focused on the authors of the first 6 centuries of the Christian era. And this is admitted by many scholars, pretty much all scholars. The Didache, the Catacomb Pictures, and the teachings of the Fathers, Greek and Latin, are in essential harmony on this point, and thus confirm one another. They all bear witness to trine immersion as the rule, and effusion or pouring as the exception. This view is supported by the best scholars, Greek, Latin, and Protestant. That's from the Protestant historian Dr. Philip Schaff. And the Roman Catholic Jesuit Raphael Garucci also admitted that to immerse the person in the water, and 3 times also the head, was the ancient and solemn rite. This is admitted by Thomas Aquinas as well. So we'll scroll down to the most important part of what he says when he discusses the question of the importance of baptizing by triple immersion. He says that trine immersion is universally observed in baptism, and consequently anyone baptizing otherwise would sin gravely through not following the ritual of the Church. But the Roman Catholic ritual of the Church changed, and this is a very serious error and change from the apostolic tradition. This is the Latin original, and we'll go over to the Catechism of the Council of Trent, which admits that the early church practiced immersion, but pouring later became the general practice in the middle of the 2nd millennium. The Catholic Encyclopedia, a very scholarly source, admits that triple immersion is unquestionably very ancient in the Church and apparently of apostolic origin. Thomas Watson, a Roman Catholic bishop who was in England, also admits this. He says, "Although the old and ancient tradition of the Church hath been from the beginning to dip the child 3 times in the water, as Christ lay 3 days in the grave, yet that is not of such necessity, but that if he be but once dipped in the water is sufficient, yea, and in time of great peril necessity, if the water be but poured upon his head, it will suffice." So there's many inconsistencies among the Roman Catholics. Here, Watson is saying in time of great peril and necessity, which is no longer followed. It's simply become a standard mode to pour. And also the number of immersions is another controverted point. The 50th Apostolic Canon declares, this is very important, "If any bishop or presbyter does not perform the one initiation with 3 immersions, but with giving the one immersion only into the death of the Lord, let him be deposed." So this is very strong evidence for this point.